Good afternoon, and welcome to Hinsdale Middle School and the 2025 District 7 Illinois Grade School Music Association District Jazz Contest. Before we begin, it is my honor to introduce you to our distinguished panel of judges. Robert Blazek, Director of the Youth Jazz Ensemble of DuPage, Kevin Dobick from St. Charles North High School, and Michael Strasny from Kirby School District 140. At the conclusion of this performance, if time allows, the judges will give a brief clinic to the group. Please remain seated throughout the performance and the clinic time. Also, please silence all cell phones. Our next ensemble is the OLHMS Jazz Ensemble, under the direction of John Kell. They will be performing Boogie Lou by Baker, Do Nothing Till You Hear From Me by Ellington, arranged by Barry, and Jive Samba by Adderley, arranged by Taylor. Please join me in welcoming John Kell and the OLHMS Jazz Ensemble.
Thanks to all the parents for making it out twice today for our concert band performance earlier today as well. So the first tune, Boogie Lou, is composer Paul Baker's tribute to the Latino jazz style boogaloo, which was popular in the 50s and 60s, but he puts a rock twist on it. We're going to feature 5 soloists on this. We'll hear Vivian on alto saxophone, then Leo on trumpet, Elena on tenor, Mateo, who we heard on our sound check tune, will be playing electric guitar again, and then Charlie will take a drum solo. Boogie Lou. All right, Do Nothing Till You Hear From Me is a Duke Ellington classic, recorded a number of times over the decades. The second version that they did that had lyrics added by Bob Russell was a hit for them, getting them a hit on the R&B charts. But it's been played by numerous artists and recorded by numerous artists over the years. And it was fun to have the kids try their hand at it to learn traditional swing style, which is often the hardest style of jazz music to learn. So we're going to have solos on this one by Vivian and by Tucker. And what they had to do for this was they had written solos that were mostly based off of the melody. So they started with that, and then I worked with them a bit on taking that and kind of adapting it to their own creation. So this is Do Nothing Till You Hear From Me. Thanks. Our last tune, Jive Samba, was written by Nat Adderley, the trumpet and cornet player. And it combines Brazilian rhythms and bluesy melodies, so bluesy notes, and a famous musical phrase that like punchline melody pattern, the da-da-da-da-da-da. So you're going to hear that played throughout. And what you get is a tune that's going to, I think, be stuck in your head all day. I mean, I get it stuck in my head every single time we finish jazz rehearsal, like it never fails. It's either that or hot cross buns I have stuck in my head at the end of the day. I think for the kids, this was like a challenge, but a fun challenge. I think it really did push them a little bit, but it's one that they didn't really mind working on too, I hope. Solos, improvised solos, and probably the hardest song for them to improvise over too, because they had to change keys every 2 measures. We hear Leo on trumpet, Vivian on alto, and Matteo on guitar. Thanks again.